I'm Pat Doris. Welcome to The Story. We're a different kind of news show. We love to communicate with you. We really want your feedback. You help us decide what questions to ask and where we should go next with the stories we cover. All the ways to communicate with us right there at the bottom of the screen. You can email us. The address is thestory@kgw.com. You can use the hashtag TheStoryKGW on Twitter or leave us a voicemail. You can call our phone number 503-226-5090. Over the weekend, something ugly happened in a beautiful part of Idaho. A group of 31 men gathered in the town of Coeur dressed for battle. The police chief said they are members of a hate group called Patriot Front. They were apparently there to confront or disrupt the Pride event taking place Saturday afternoon. Police got a tip from an alert citizen who saw the men climbing into the back of a U-Haul truck. The men all face a misdemeanor charge of conspiracy to riot and are all out on bond now. Today, the town's mayor thanked the police chief for his department's quick response to the citizen tip and rejected any thoughts of returning to northern Idaho's racist past.
It's important because Coeur d'Alene has experienced that before. We're not going back to the days of the Aryan nations. We are past that, and we will do everything we can to make sure that we continue to stay past those kinds of problems. If you were around in those days, or if you recall, with the help of a lot of citizens in this community and the Southern Poverty Law Center and other groups, we were able to completely rid ourselves of that group and the kind of awful culture that they were trying to present to our community. We are a culture of love, of kindness, and we will continue to be.
He's referring to the Aryan Nations, a racist group that included neo-Nazis, skinheads, Klansmen, and others, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center. In the 1980s and 90s, many would gather at the group's Hayden, Idaho compound for an annual meeting. It's just 19 miles north of Coeur d'Alene. Its founder was a man named Richard Butler. He died in 2004 at the age of 86. The Southern Poverty Law Center had earlier sued Butler and bankrupted both him and his center in the year 2000. That was after his compound guards attacked a woman and her son whose car simply backfired as they drove past the compound. As the movement broke up, many members went on to form their own groups or join others. Spokane anchorman Mark Hanrahan said reaction today to Saturday's incident in town is somewhat mixed.
I'd like to say a lot of folks are kind of surprised, but at the same time, maybe not surprised, just kind of given the history of North Idaho.
Today, Coeur d'Alene's police chief said his office is also getting a variety of reactions to the arrest of those 31 in the back of the U-Haul.
Of the 149 calls that we know of so far that have come in, they're about 50-50 split between individuals in our community who are happy to give us their name and tell us that they're proud of the work that we did and they're happy to be a part of this community, and the other 50% who are completely anonymous and who want nothing more than to scream and yell at us and use some really choice words, offer death threats against myself and other members of the police department merely for doing our jobs.
The chief said there had been some threats to the Pride celebration before the weekend, and because of that, he'd increased the number of officers working on Saturday. And as online rumors took off, he knocked down a couple today.
Let me be very clear here. These were not law enforcement officers that we arrested. These were members of the hate group Patriot Front. These were not Antifa in disguise, nor were they FBI members in disguise.
I had a chance to talk with Billy Williams today. He's the former U.S. Attorney for Oregon and oversaw the Malheur refuge situation in southeast Oregon when far-right extremists seized that in 2016.
This is where we're at in this country right now, right? In so many different ways. The extremists across the spectrum, don't seem to be, they want to take action. They want to make a statement. They want to engage in physical and different forms of intimidation. So no one should be surprised that this kind of event would take place.
Williams says the Coeur d'Alene arrests on such minor charges is yet another example of why Congress needs to pass a national law making it a crime to be a domestic terrorist.
You know, it's great to talk about it. It's great to study it, but you need to actually do something instead of just talking about it. And, you know, states are looking at their own, you know, what they have on their books or they don't have on their books. And so, again, it's just where we're at.
But it also, sort of to circle back to one of the points you were making, though, is that if folks see people going to prison for doing this, maybe it's not such a fun party for them anymore. And with the absence of that, it seems like it's almost an encouragement. You see people do this, they might get a misdemeanor, it's no big deal. Everybody goes about their lives and talks about what a great time it was.
Right. No, absolutely. I just, you know, it's like holding people accountable for state, federal, local, and tribal crimes. Now, if you don't do it, gee whiz, people, it's not a deterrent, right, for them to engage in repeated criminal conduct. And so this isn't rocket science. This is stuff we know from decades of you know, passing laws and again, theoretically holding people accountable. But if you don't hold them accountable, they don't care.
And in the absence of a federal law, would you urge states to quickly adopt their own laws?
Absolutely. I think many have taken the lead in that already. And I just absolutely, it's like, how much longer does this kind of nonsense go on before something is done to actually enable law enforcement to do something about it and to keep people safe?
In the meantime, it's apparently up to citizens to do what they can. Here's the Coeur d'Alene police chief again.
I would tell you that the biggest lesson I think that we have for not only members of our community, but law enforcement in general and our public as a whole, is that one concerned citizen can prevent something horrible from happening. This one concerned citizen, rather than pulling out their phone and videotaping this for their 15 minutes on YouTube or Snapchatting it or something like that, took the time to call 911 and report some suspicious activity. And as a result, we likely stopped a riot from happening downtown.
Amazing a weekend. Now to our homeless crisis and repairing and reopening Old Town Portland. For months now, business leaders there have criticized a lack of action by both the city and the county to make Old Town safer and to take care of the homeless campers who crowded the sidewalks. Frustration grew to such a level that business leaders held a news conference publicly demanding change. Well, 90 days later, everyone's talking nice, and it appears there is a feeling of partnership with the city. But many neighbors are still skeptical of the city's so-called improvements. Here's Blair Best.
Old Town still remains at the center of Portland's homeless crisis, and the city just reached the end of their 90-day reset plan to try and clean up this neighborhood. But city officials and those who live here say the work is far from over.
We have made some critical decisions to get us started, and now we must stay the course, ever improving the process and work.
In March, Jesse Burke at the Old Town Community Association, alongside city officials, announced a 90-day reset plan for Old Town. The goal? Reduce crime, remove graffiti, and improve overall safety. Since then, more than 18,000 square feet of graffiti has been removed, and permanent trash crews are dedicated to cleaning up the area.
The Old Town neighborhood has been disproportionately affected by the crises that are impacting Portland today.
The city also increased the number of camp removals. In April, the city removed 137 homeless encampments and another 206 in May. 87 people have been placed into shelters, and the city has also dedicated 92 beds in 2 new shelters for people who camped in Old Town.
I'm proud to say we are turning the tide.
But neighbors like Earl Reeves, who's lived in Old Town for 20 years, aren't convinced.
Maybe they are making an attempt, but I'm not seeing it yet. The tents get wiped out. 2 days later, the tents are back.
We can't walk down the streets. We are unsafe. I've been assaulted on the street. I don't even call the police.
Now I wouldn't go outside at night, period, to cross the street. It's that dangerous.
I think they need more housing.
Vern has lived in Old Town for 13 years and has experienced homelessness. He now gets housing through Central City Concern, but says the camp removals aren't a long-term solution.
Once they get swept, they just go and get more equipment, because you can't just leave people with nothing, right? To me, I don't think it should happen, right? I mean, those people are hurting.
A rise of violent crime also continues to plague the neighborhood, including a recent string of brutal homicides.
There is still work to do, but these indicators are trending in the right direction. I'm confident that our continued efforts will lead to improved livability and reduced crime.
We're hearing this every day. We deserve to have the safety that other people take for granted.
Homelessness is a problem facing the entire city, not just here in Old Town. Mayor Wheeler plans to bring the tactics used here to other neighborhoods as well. Blair Best, KGW News.
Still ahead, the inspiring story of an Oregon woman who pulled herself out of a life of homelessness and drug addiction by building birdhouses.
I have self-worth now. I believe in me, and I know I can do it. And having people believe in me has made a big difference.
When the story continues. Welcome back. Keep sending your questions and comments to the story at kgw.com. We see them coming in. We really do read them, and we really do listen to them. You can give us a call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090. We see homelessness all around us, and we talk a lot about the problems. But there are examples that tell us some people can leave that life behind. Tonight, we meet a woman who fell into the depths of despair, but with the help of others has become a model of hope. Laurel Porter has the story of Mary Mayer.
Well, Mary said when she was homeless, she felt invisible. Today, she calls herself the Bird Lady. She builds magnificent birdhouses, and you can't help but notice her now and how her life has taken flight.
On a farm outside Newberg, Oregon, birds aren't the only ones who found a home.
It's a romance season. There you go. I'm just kind of watching the activity in the airs right now.
After a long, often painful journey, Mary Mayer landed here too.
What a gift to be able to fly.
The birds are like family.
Kitty, 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 kitties.
She remembers as a young girl wanting to be just like them.
But I've always admired the birds, just the freedom of it's like effortlessly, just flying. Come on, don't be sitting around.
Mary and the swallows who swoop in to greet her.
Good job.
Are birds of a feather.
It's so fun watching them try to get one of those big feathers in there. Oh, right in front of my face.
In the fourth grade, she even tried to make wings.
I get so excited. I thought if I get enough feathers, that if I placed them into hot wax, it would cool and I'd be able to fly.
To fly away.
I wish I would have been a pilot if I'd known I was able to do that. Unfortunately, I had a discouraging father that just told me I couldn't do anything and I'd add up to nothing, so I believed him.
Her wings clipped, verbally abused by her father, later physically abused by a husband. Instead of taking flight, Mary became rooted in alcohol, drugs, and homelessness.
I never dreamed I would be homeless.
For 7 years, the forest, in a park in the Dundee area, sometimes the woods on the coast, were home.
I had a green tent too, so it all blended in.
She disconnected from family and friends, was hospitalized 8 times for pancreatitis from drinking.
Get a bottle, Mary, and spend some time alone.
And thought about taking her own life.
So I know what useless feels like. It's horrible, lonely, dark.
Surviving on crawdads she caught in the creek, and the goodwill of strangers.
I was desperate. I had actually 2 signs, one on the side and one on the front.
Mary said she was the first person in Newberg who was homeless to hold a sign asking for help.
Homeless, need gas will work. Yes, absolutely.
Not the life she imagined when she and her classmates attended high school in the small town of Yamhill.
Come on, Nick.
And vastly different
Here he is.
from the life of a boy who called Mary his 7th grade crush.
That's him. That's me.
This is where we grew up.
I know. Oh my gosh.
Mrs. Greer's class. Yeah, one of
The class president would go on to become a 2-time Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist.
And it was a community.
At the New York Times, Nicholas Kristof.
I think that there were about 120 kids who started freshman year with us.
Mary worked at the Yamhill Cafe.
That's me.
Nick wrote a story for the school paper and the McMinnville Register when the T&E General Store opened in 1976.
Yeah, he bought it when we were in high school.
More than 4 decades later, with Mary's permission,
Yep.
Nick wrote about her
I decided not to be like my dad.
in the book Tightrope. He co-wrote with his wife, telling the personal and poignant tale of how many of Nick's classmates stumbled and fell through the cracks of a frayed social safety net and died from drugs, alcohol abuse, and suicide. Mary almost became one of them.
One of the things I love about your story is that it's totally uplifting. And there's so much to be depressed about today, Mary. And your story is completely uplifting.
Uplifting because despite the adversity she faced, Mary lifted herself up out of homelessness, eventually landing here on the farm. With the help of Good Samaritans who invited her to church,
Number 1.
others who offered her a place to live at the farm, she got clean and sober. She had a home to rebuild her life.
All right.
Making birdhouses for the creatures she loves.
I've amazed myself at how much I've been able to create and do for birds and for other people.
Handcrafting each birdhouse using pine cones,
Yep, it's just beautiful.
seashells,
Yeah.
and nuts she collects.
I made them come alive. Yeah.
And recycled items like wine corks donated from local wineries. Mary has names for each birdhouse design.
Beachfront property, wine country.
Selling her cheap rent birdhouses helps her pay the rent.
Look at how pretty that is.
On a crisp spring day,
These are so gorgeous. Yep.
her old friend Nick visited Mary to see her birdhouse production in progress.
Oh, pining for you. You're good with puns.
Thank you. I have self-worth now. You know, I believe in me and I know I can do it. And having people believe in me has made a big difference.
It's not hopeless that we can solve these problems.
Nick sees Mary as an emblem of hope.
You provided a model for other people. I am so proud of this young lady and all she's done, and she's an inspiration to me.
Thank you so much, Nick. It means a lot to me.
Aww.
Mary Mayer has done something extraordinary.
It brings me to tears because
While she may not have wings,
I look up at the sky and just know that I'm not alone.
she has learned to fly.
It's wonderful.
She is so inspiring. But when Mary was struggling, she got help. If you or someone you know is thinking about suicide, we want to let you know there is help available 24/7 at Lines for Life. The number is 1-800-273-8255. And Pat, I wanted to show you one of Mary's beautiful birdhouses. This is the beachfront property collection.
Yeah,
isn't it gorgeous?
Yeah.
It's part of her cheap rent collection, cheap spelled CHEEP.
Very nice.
And lift it up, it's really heavy, sturdy.
Yeah, it is.
And she guarantees them for 5 years. She says nobody else does that. But if you're interested in getting a birdhouse, I have her contact information on the story about Mary on kgw.com. She'll also be selling them every Wednesday starting later this month at the Newburgh Farmers Market and at Carlton Fun Days June 24th and 25th.
What an uplifting story and a great product, too.
Thank you, Pat. She is a beacon of hope for sure.
Yeah. Are you enjoying this June gloom, or are you hoping for summer to actually start on time? Well, we're going to ask meteorologist Joe Ranieri what's causing our historically wet and dreary spring when the story continues. Welcome back. Well, believe it or not, we're just a week away from the first day of summer, but it feels a lot like we're still in March with gloomy days that we've had. Oh, Joe, come on, man.
I know.
When's it going to stop raining? When's it going to feel like
That
summer?
is the million-dollar question, and we'll start to see some improvements over the next couple of days. And a big reason why we're starting to see these, record amounts of rain, and we're heading into the middle part of June, is because of La Nina. I'll talk about that in a second. But because of that La Nina, we're seeing some incredible snowfall once again. It's been crazy up there the last couple of days. In the last 24 hours, anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of snow has fallen in the higher elevations. As we look at the weather headlines, snow levels stay just above the passes tonight, and rain and snow showers overnight. How much? A couple of inches. Won't be an incredible amount, but for the middle part of June, seeing anywhere from 1 to 3 inches is kind of impressive. So no issues driving into central and eastern Oregon. But again, as we take a look at the snow levels tonight and into tomorrow, it'll be right around 5,000 feet, maybe 1 to 3 inches possible, right around 6,000 feet late tonight and into tomorrow. For Tuesday, we could be looking at anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of new snow. As we look at the satellite and radar right now, you're going to continue to see snow showers here the next couple of hours. Meanwhile, the west side of the state, we're going to be looking at some drier weather heading into the later part of tonight and into tomorrow. But still, there's going to be another weak disturbance that moves on shore, bringing in some light showers at times for Tuesday. By the afternoon, things will start to improve. So as we bring in Futurecast, I have it stopped here late tonight, still picking up some spotty showers along Highway 26. And then throughout the morning commute, those showers will increase, but I'm forecasting anywhere from maybe 5/100ths of an inch to maybe 1/10 of an inch of rain. By late tomorrow afternoon and into the evening, we'll start to see some drier weather. So as we look at our records amounts of rain we've seen the last couple of months, we've seen over 12 inches of rain. This time last year, we saw about 2.5 inches of rain for the entire 3-month period of spring. Previous record was close to 12 inches in 2010, and the record June amount of rain is almost 4.25 of an inch or so. As we look into the next couple of days, we're going to be seeing more of that same weather pattern. Basically, what we've been seeing with this really strong La Nina the last couple of months is a couple of disturbances moved through the Gulf of Alaska, bringing in some of that cool and showery conditions. Meanwhile, throughout the desert southwest, we've been seeing a lot of heat, and that's what we're going to be seeing heading into the next couple of days. By Wednesday, things will improve a little bit. We're going to be seeing a little bit of some more sunshine and warmer temperatures, but as we head into the later part of the week, we'll go back to cool and showery conditions, and that will continue heading into the last weekend of spring. And Pat, looking at long-range models, there's not going to be any dramatic change. We're going to be looking at temperatures right around the low to mid 70s heading into the later part of this month and as we approach the early part of summer as well.
Holy cats, Joe. I know that some people are thinking about getting out their light therapy lights because it feels like it's midwinter.
Exactly right.
Thanks for the explanation. Appreciate it. All righty then. Keep sending your questions and comments to the story at kgw.com. Still ahead, how you can help your community. For this week's Hey Help campaign, we're asking you to donate to our Giving Table. It's a Portland-based nonprofit that makes sure that foster kids and underprivileged children get enough to eat. They do a lot of work in the summer when kids can't eat breakfast or lunch at school every day. If you want to help out, just hold up your phone's camera to the QR code now on your screen there, or you can go to kgw.com/heyhelp. This is a micro donation drive, so feel free to give any amount, no matter how small or how big. That's the end of our program. Thanks for watching. But remember, the story, our story, well, that never ends. I'll see you tomorrow.
This is KG.